With me now is Brian Gallant, former New Brunswick Premier. Welcome, sir, and thank you for being here. There will be a lot to discuss during this week's talks in Ottawa, but let's start with trade. The Prime Minister and Ontario's Premier seemed to mend fences this week after Doug Ford took aim at the deal he made with Beijing. Still, though, how much of an influence do you think that deal will have on Wednesday's conversations?
Well, thanks for having me, and you're absolutely right. There's lots to discuss. There has been lots to discuss for months now, but certainly with the last sort of few days, last week, there's many things that I think the premiers are going to want to discuss with the Prime Minister, and in the other direction as well, the Prime Minister will want to brief the premiers. You're right to say that trade is going to be top of mind. It would have been top of mind months ago as well, but given what has happened with the Davos speech, with China, with the reaction to the Davos speech, then the call in which the President and the Prime Minister spoke, I think it is going to influence very much the discussion. And premiers, I believe, are going to say to themselves, look, we need to really be in the know. We need to have direct dialogue, constant dialogue, because clearly you're moving quickly. You're going to China and you're striking a deal. You're going to Davos and you're making these comments that have potential impacts. We want to have the channels of communication open, and I think that's a good thing. And to your point, look, there's been definitely some tension, but I think Prime Minister Carney and his team have been working really hard to try to build relationships. When they act fast, then they try to go back to the people that may be a little irritated with where the outcome sort of went when they're moving fast to try to patch things up. And you saw that with Premier Ford and Prime Minister Carney eating some pizza and showing that they had found a way to move forward together.
Yes, there they are there with their pizza slices. Now, you talk about tensions within Team Canada. What about other issues, other premiers, namely Alberta's Danielle Smith and BC's David Eby, all over this pipeline memorandum of understanding? Do you expect that to be a topic of conversation?
I do, for sure. I think Premier Eby was very vocal for a few days, probably a few weeks, but it sort of has calmed down. But this is the time and the format in which we'll see it sort of percolate again. And I have no doubt that many media, when they see the Premier of Alberta, the Premier of BC go into the meetings, will have lots of questions for them, including probably on this topic. So certainly it is a format in which the topic can then sort of be raised and tensions can maybe rise again. But look, dialogue is always good. It's always, I think, the right approach. Even when there's tension, when there's different perspectives and maybe different priorities, it is important for people to get in the room. So I'm happy the meeting is happening as a Canadian, and I think the time is certainly right given everything that's going on. And you're also going to see Northern premiers, I think, also speak out. They put something out talking about the need for infrastructure renewal in the region. And again, so much happening in the last few weeks. Didn't even mention all the things happening with Greenland. And I think the Northern premiers are going to say to themselves, look, we have these sort of threats to sovereignty, although things have calmed down a bit. That means that we have to, in our north, here in Canada, make the right investments to be able to ensure we're protecting our and securing our sovereignty. So I think we're going to see lots of premiers come in with different perspectives, with lots to say to the Prime Minister.
How united is Team Canada right now, do you think?
Quite united, despite very, I think, regional differences on where they'd like some of this stuff to go. And it's quite impressive. Look, I think there's a few reasons for it. The first is I do believe the premiers want what's best for Canada as a whole. They obviously have the perspective of their province or territory, and they're going to bring that to the table. And they obviously believe having a strong province or territory that they represent is important to Canada, but they also care deeply about the country. And I think they recognize the threats, the economic threats, and at times different and varying threats to our sovereignty. So I believe that that's going to compel them to stay together, stick together. The second reason I say that is the Prime Minister and his government have made it very clear they want to make some major investments, get some big projects done. The major projects bill is very supported by, I think, across the board, all the premiers. So that's a way that I believe the Carney government has sort of mitigated a bit of the concerns on some of the regional stuff, because although they may not like what has happened on EVs, for example, in Premier Ford's case, I think he still recognizes that Prime Minister Carney and the government really want to move forward and quickly on some major projects that he deems incredibly important for Ontario and for the country.
He does say they agree on about 99% of Team Canada's approach. We'll have to leave it there, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
That's Brian Gallant, former New Brunswick Premier.